Hey, what's up guys, it's Kurotsuchi here back with another part of What If Naruto Was in a Political Marriage. Before continuing this series, I would like to make an announcement. Guys, I'm thinking of starting a new Naruto What If series. It's called What If Naruto Had a Godzilla Bloodline, in which Naruto will change into Godzilla, and pretty much there will be King Ghidorah in there as well as Kong. I just watched the movie and got inspired by it, so yeah. And a few more one shots. It might contain council bashing and maybe Sakura as well. And yeah, regarding the ships of that, I will consider only 2 ships. And write down in comments which 2 will you prefer for the Godzilla What If one. And without further ado, let's continue our story. Oh, if you haven't yet, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's continue our story. Chapter 19, The Pranks Part 2. Training Ground 111. Naruto burst out of the soft earth gasping for breath and started to look around his surroundings. He quickly spotted a circle on earth about 10 feet away from him and ground out in frustration. After he made it to the training ground and showed his progress to Isha, he seemed taken aback by how quickly Naruto had learned the jutsu. But he instructed that even if Naruto knew the jutsu, he didn't know how to correctly implement it. So he made the solid ground into a square clear of loose earth that was about 50 feet long and 20 feet wide. After instructing Naruto on how to properly move in the earth, he made a circle on its surface at a random point and told Naruto that he would only truly be able to use jutsu to its fullest if he was able to pop out in the circle from the underground. As it was, Isha was looking at Naruto's progress with no slight amount of wonder. Naruto learned jutsu with a high speed. Nobody learned jutsu like that, and at that fast rate. Not even he was able to master the normal earth walking technique until a week into training with it. But here Naruto was, well on his way on mastering it in half of the time. Naruto was surprisingly a good student as well. Naruto popped up from the ground gasping for breath again, but this time clearly in the circle that was imposed by Isha. He started shouting in excitement and made his way to the part-time sensei. How was that, Isha-sensei? That was perfect, Naruto. What I just told you to do was meant to help you with your situational awareness. Naturally, you can't see what happened above ground, so it's important that you keep some awareness of where you are in relative positions to where other things are on the surface. Naruto beamed up at this. So when can I do the jutsu like you can? He asked excitedly. Probably never. Naruto deflated. So what was the point of learning this jutsu for me? Isha struck a pondering pose. Okay, lecture time. This jutsu would usually be classified as a supporting jutsu, a jutsu that would have much of an impact on physically harming the opponent and is generally either used in a runaway or getting behind or under the enemy. I, however, he pointed to himself, just use the jutsu as a template for my fighting style and have changed it drastically to suit my needs. Naruto looked at him with a confused expression. But how is what you do and what I do different? Well, for one, I mastered the use of 2 different chakra niches to supplement the way I use the jutsu, and I also am a chakra sensor to a limited degree. This confused Naruto even more. What are chakra natures and sensor? Isha didn't look amused. What did they teach you in the academy in Konoha? I never really listened to the lectures, Naruto said sheepishly. Isha looked down and pinched the bridge of his nose in annoyance. Looking up, he said, basically chakra natures are markers of the elements type you can change your chakra into. Sensors are capable of sensing where other people are based on their chakras. Naruto snapped his fingers in realization. Like the yugas? He asked. Isha nodded. Yes, but they are the most extreme example of chakra sensing. Okay, I got that, but what does mastering chakra nature have to do with your technique? You really don't know anything about chakra natures, do you? I know that you can use different jutsu that do stuff like making fire or lightning, Naruto said indignantly. Well, yes, generally anyone could use any jutsu that uses hand seals, but some people are so predisposed to certain elements than to others. So a fire type ninja would have a hard time learning a wind type jutsu. To master a nature type, one would have to completely be able to bring the element out of their fullest. And each of the element type have different exercises to do so. But didn't you say that you master two? And how does that affect the jutsu? Sorry about that. It is possible to master element natures that aren't your main type, but it takes way much longer in time. I was born a water type, so mastering that only took a few years. But for my fighting style to be complete, I only needed to master another element, and that element happens to be earth type. Luckily, I live in Iwagakure, so finding instructions in earth manipulation wasn't difficult. So, what does that have to do with me and the jutsu? Naruto repeated. Well, like I said, anyone can learn any jutsu that uses hand seal because hand seal manipulate and convert your chakra for you. But they can only be used rigidly and don't offer much flexibility out of the realm of their respective jutsu. Direct elemental manipulation works by being able to interact with the world around you and other jutsu in a much more languid and flexible way. Some people can do things to their surroundings with direct elemental manipulation to completely alter the flow of the battle. Naruto nodded his head, understanding the lecture so far. The way that I use the two natures in conjunction with each other is by shrouding myself simultaneously with my earth chakra and water chakra, then using the earth chakra to break up the rock into smaller granular materials. I jump inside and saturate it with my water chakra, which makes it much more loose and allows me to swim with a huge amount of speed by changing my direction and speed with the amount of water current. Naruto nodded again. But what does you being a sensor have to do with anything? Well, I got the nickname the rock swimmer because I was able to swim directly under anyone and drag them into the rock, where they would suffocate. Being able to sense where people were was a humongous help to me. How would people suffocate? Couldn't they just swim upwards? Because I saturate the rock with my water chakra, once the chakra dissipates, so does the water. The same goes for the rock. So once I swim away, they're stuck in a solid rock. Naruto cringed. It truly was a brutal fighting style, but something was still off to it. How old are you? Naruto asked. From what he gathered, mastering chakra natures took a load of time, and he shouldn't have had the time to completely master an entire style by himself. 47, he said. Naruto's eyes widened considerably. You're 47? But you look so... As was stated before, Isha didn't have very manly physique markers to gauge his age, and Naruto only guessed his age by his general appearance. Yes, Isha said expectantly. You act young, Naruto finished lamely. Is there something wrong with that? He asked defensively. No, of course not. It's just surprising, I guess. After he said that, Naruto fell onto the ground and looked up at the clouds. So I'm not going to master it to your level, but to use it correctly in battle, I would use it to run away for a stronger opponent. Or use it to get behind them? He asked from the ground. Yeah. Isha decided to lie down on the ground as well. Naruto sat in silence for a while. I could so use this with my shadow clones. Indeed, distracting the enemy then coming up with when they least expected would be a very good strategy to use in conjunctions with shadow clones. There are a few things that I could teach you, like how to get a limited amount of oxygen down there, but that would probably take way too much time for you to learn it within the week because you have to have at least passing knowledgeable of wind chakra. Naruto grunted in that way for a while, just relaxing and staring up at the clouds floating by. Naruto finally understood why Shikamaru liked doing it so much. It was a lot more soothing than he expected it to be. Hey Isha, how you're old, right? I personally wouldn't say that 47 is very old, but you lived longer than I have, and you're a lot smarter. Yeah? What do you know about girls? Naruto had decided and was having a hard time figuring out Kurotsuchi, and was seeking advice for once. Without the help of Jiraiya, of course. Isha was the one and only available at the current time. But he did survive to his 40s, So he must be more knowledgeable than Naruto was on this subject. Isha sighed explosively. Absolutely nothing. Or not. Naruto eyed him warily. What do you mean? Isha took a while to answer. Look, man, I don't know anything about women. Just as much as women don't know anything about men. Isha eyed him severely. I'm only going to say this once, so you better listen up. You shouldn't make assumptions on people based on anything that seems apart to you, whether that be race, gender, or sexual orientation. Would you like to know why? Naruto nodded. You shouldn't make assumptions on people because all people are different. If you would like to do something, communicate it first. I, s- I swear I swear if people just told other people how they feel, the world wouldn't be so fucked up. Isha countenance turned cheerful once again. Martial problems? Yup. Your life seemed to have turned into one martial problem after another. You could say that again. We're going to talk about it, or what? Naruto groaned. Okay, so she snores, first of all. It is a small snore that could be dealt with on most nights. No, her snoring shakes the house, and her dad does it too, which only makes it worse. Naruto saw the Isha was following him so far, so I walked over to her while she was sleeping and moved her head in a position that stopped her snoring. I tried to arrange the pillow to do it for me, but my arm was the only thing that could help it and keep it in that position, so I put my arm under her head to stop the snoring and went back to sleep. I'm going to assume that she didn't like to well to that idea. Did you say not to assume things? Don't assume things about people. Situations and actions are completely different. Whatever. Anyway, once she woke up, she punched me in the face. Well, you did sneak into bed with her, but Fu and Yuichiro were fine with it, he said indignantly. Are Fu and Yuichiro the same person and Kurotsuchi? Naruto shook his head. Well, there you have your answer. You assume the people of the opposite gender are okay with sleeping in the same bed because of your previous interaction with your other wives, and you shouldn't do that. You can basically infer how people feel towards one thing or another based on their actions and interaction with the world. Well, yeah, but I don't know why Kurotsuchi does the things she does. And this is where experience with other people come in. What she does, what has she done that mystifies you? Well, she usually acts all mischievous around me, but lately she's been acting different. How so? I don't know. Sometimes she's acting all nice and understanding, and she laughs a lot. But other times she's really mad at me for reasons that I don't understand. He just switches from one personality to another. I swear to God. Anything else? She gets embarrassed when I compliment her. I don't know anyone else who does it. A few things fell into place in Isha's head. Look, kid, sometimes people have trouble putting their feeling into words or actions. So if you do something suddenly and they don't know how to react, then the result could be quite explosive. What do you mean? It means that she likes you but she doesn't know how to show it, or she doesn't want to show it. Naruto didn't really know how to take this tidbit of information. Huh? But she never acts like she likes me, he said, scratching his head in confusion. Naruto, for his part, wasn't much of a thinker. There was a few reasons for this, such as he just isn't very good at it, or that he doesn't find much pleasure in doing so. But as of late, he had been pushed into a lot of situations in which the thinking heavily was required, like having his convictions repeatedly questioned, or accidentally hurting someone's feeling because of not talking in the situation correctly. So Naruto had been thinking quite often, wondering what the marriage had in store for him in the future, or how would it fit the whole Akatsuki trying to kill him and the retrieve Sasuke from Orochimaru in the protect each other mentality that he and his wives had developed. Isha saw the gears turning in Naruto's head and decided it might be best to leave the boy alone for the moment. So he quietly sunk into the rock without alerting the thinking lad. Naruto hadn't really thought about his love life very often after departing from Konoha. With the new information that Kurotsuchi apparently liked him, he found himself wondering if he would mind it all that much. There were a whole slew of unknowns in the situation, and he knew that. He didn't even know what it was like to be in a romantic relationship, so he didn't know how to approach it. But he did know that he liked Kurotsuchi. He might not see her romantically in light yet, but he liked talking to her. He liked the cycle of pranks that they had created, and he liked her laugh, but he didn't know if he loved her. There was also the fact that even if they did date, it would be stranger still due to the fact that they live in the same house and would interact on a regular basis. He knew very little about the relationship worked, but for the little amount of it that he absorbed from TV and other media, he knew that people just starting in a relationship never interacted much outside of their dates. It was only until they came to the conclusion that they loved and wanted to be always with each other, and that they decided that it would be worth it to live in the same house and interact regularly. Naruto sighed in exasperation and confusion. This wasn't something that he wanted to think about, and as he started to desperately search for some kind of distraction in order to escape from it. Mentally snapping his finger, he searched his ninja pouch for a certain scroll. Obtaining it, he opened it and unsealed what was inside of it. A small pile of about 5 books popped out of the scroll. When he had been on the way to leave, Takifu ran up to him and shoved the scroll into his hands, saying that they were the best books that she had ever read, even knowing that he would probably be too busy training to sit down and read. He still graciously accepted the books and tucked the scroll into the pouch. Now that he had nothing to do and needed distraction, the books were just the right thing for him. Much like his status as a thinker, Naruto wasn't much of a reader either. He was a man of action after all. There was no time to be sitting and reading when he could be training. That being said, he needed a mental outlet, not a physical one. He indiscriminately picked up a book and cracked it open to the first page. Link break, just outside training ground 111. Kurotsuchi was finally climbing her way up to the training ground 111. On the way over, she decided to walk the way instead of running because of her need to think. Kurotsuchi came to the conclusion that she didn't really know what to do, act on her feelings or not. She seemed to be in between a rock and a hard place. When she got there, instead of seeing a Naruto hard at work mastering the finer details of the jutsu that he was given, she found Naruto quietly reading a book while he was lying down on the ground, with a languid expression on his face. He hadn't noticed her presence yet, so she decided to do something about it. Even if he wasn't a reader, Fu had been correct in saying that the book that she gave him were among the finer literate works. So he had shut off the work around him, so he continued to get sunk into the book. Its main plot point was about an ordinary ninja who had been put on the same team as 2 successful prodigies who had connections in higher places. The entire book was about evolving as a person and a shinobi as he came to impossible situations that no ordinary shinobi should ever have to face. Sorry about that, and sorry about the stuttering, guys. It's too much humid in here, and due to noise I'm recording in the basement. It's quite hot here, and I'm sweating like hell as well. Anyways, let's continue our story. And he continued to read until a sword slammed down inches away from his ear. Shrieking, he scrambled backwards to face the new threat that faced him. The threat turned out to be Kurotsuchi, who was barely able to control her laughter at his expression. Naruto sweat rubbed. Does she really like me? His ear was still ringing from the sound striking sword at the rock ground. Naruto decided to test that out. He got up slowly with a big grin on his face and began to walk in the direction of Kurotsuchi. Really got me there, he said, huffing a little in a laughter. But you know what, Kurotsuchi? When he stopped inches away from her. What? He placed a palm on her cheek and remarked, "You are the most beautiful person that I have ever seen in my life," he said with a straightest of faces. She stopped giggling and adopted a facial expression that looked like she had been struck in the head by a shovel. Kurotsuchi then began to heat up to an uncomfortable degree, which Naruto was able to feel due to his hand still pressing to her face. Not knowing what to do in the situation, she kneed him in the groin. Naruto's eyes bulged out and he quickly keeled over the expression from the sudden pain contact on his baby's maker. Idiot! Don't say that sort of stuff and things, she shouted out at him. As soon as she regained control of her verbal functions, he screamed in agony and as a retort. Kurotsuchi looked down at him. He was rolling around in an obvious pain. That couldn't feel good in any way. She stood awkwardly on the side as he began to pick himself up. What was that for? He shouted. You are being an idiot, she said defensively. For complimenting you? She looked at the ground, not being able to meet his gaze. So maybe a knee to the ground was a bit too much, but she didn't do it consciously. It was sort of like a body reaction to get him as far away from her as possible. Kurotsuchi sighed in a slight remorse. I'm sorry, okay, for punching you this morning and kneeing you in the dick right now. Her slight, eloquent response still had no effect on Naruto. It's okay, I guess, he said in a huff. I should have just sucked it up and dealt with your snoring. But that was so not cool what you just did, you know. She giggled at his exasperated tone. With a mischievous smirk, she asked, What you gonna do about that? He smiled back at her. Why not, of course, my Tsuchihime. She began to blush again, but made no movements to physically harm him. So what are you doing? She asked him. He looked down at the book that he lost the page number of. I was reading. Isha kind of took off when I mastered the earth walking technique. She looked slightly surprised at this. You mastered earth walking? She asked incredulously. Well, not completely. I still need to learn how to take air down under, but I need some training in wind nature or something like that. Kurotsuchi nodded in understanding. So what are you gonna do now? Well, now that you're here, do you want to spar in Kenjutsu? She groaned. Nope, I'm still sore from the yesterday. How are you sore? She leveled a glare at him. Not all of us can walk away from a 4-hour sword spar like it was nothing. Anyway, my muscles are still sore and my chakra levels are still low, so I'm not able to operate on optimal efficiency. So why are you even here? Moral support. Naruto laughed vocally at the remark. You? Moral support? That's rich coming from the chick who just kneed me eyeballs. I said I'm sorry, she huffed. Naruto laughed for a while longer. After it petered down, he asked, So what now? Isha's gone? Then it looks like training is over for today, eh? But I have to train to get stronger to protect you and everyone else. I also got to stop Akatsuki and get Sasuke back. I can't take breaks. She gestured to the empty air around them. Look and see all the people who give a fuck. I can't help you. And no one else can right now either. Thus training is over. Naruto looked up. The sun was still high in the sky. He sighed in defeat. Okay, you win. What are we gonna do anyways? Well, there is that Princess Gale movie that just came out. Kyoki's still acting? Yeah. Why do you say her name like you know her? The installation of the actress who had been under a pseudonym unto the throne of the now proposing spring country had made a lot of waves in the shinobi world. Enough that the average shinobi at least had heard of it in passing. Because I do know her. He started walking out of the training ground and in the direction of Eva proper. Kurotsuchi followed him. How do you know her? She asked. It was my team that got her on the throne, he said boastfully. What? No way. If you ever get back to Konoha, ask anyone. They'll all say the same thing. I don't believe it, not for a second, she said. It's not right to ignore the truth, Naruto replied. It's not right to lie with a bold face. I never lie, my beautiful wife. She blushed and looked away again. It was fun messing up with her. It was fun being with her. It was fun talking to her. It wasn't fun really getting physically abused by her, but he knew that he just had to stay out of Leg's reach with her. Naruto looked at her blushing face once again with a wistful expression. Maybe her relationship would be kind of nice. He shook his head to get rid of those thoughts. Whatever happened, happened. They walked to the theater. The walk to the theater was very pleasant to both of them. They both talked a little about their childhoods and what they had been doing recently. Kurotsuchi had been taught proper etiquette and how to appear to the common populace in order to provide the appearance of the perfect royal child, quote unquote. She wasn't really royal, but she might as well have been. And because her grandfather was someone who had the dust release, she had a lot of expectations running on her to survive the childbearing age. Nobody had flat out told her that, but it was an unspoken expectation. Their conversation had provided her insight on his childhood as well. She wasn't able to completely empathize with his situation, but she did know the pain of being expected to do or be something because of being in a situation that she had no control over. She also got quite the round of laughter when he told her about his trip to Kumo, or more specifically the fracasso of a date with Samui. Naruto got embarrassed but was capable of laughing at it as well. Hindsight allowed people to do that. Most of her days back had either been spent resting to get back on her feet from her debilitating injury or training with her sword or quick climb jutsu, which shocked Naruto to know that she was a Kekigenkai holder. The movie was long even by industry standards. Naruto had sat still the entire time through in rapid attention, and Kurotsuchi did her best to not burst out in laughing at every other scene. Needless to say, after they walked out of the theater, they had conflicting views on it. That movie was so stupid, Kurotsuchi started out. What? How can you say that? It was so awesome. Kurotsuchi laughed a little bit at that. Oh really? Quick, Sadahama. Use your rainbow jutsu. So stop Kikaru. I wanted to laugh so hard when I heard that. What was so funny about that? She looked at him unbelievingly. Really? You don't find rainbow jutsu weird in the slightest? Naruto crossed his arm and huffed in annoyance. You just had to have watched the others to get it. Nah, the movie was stupid. It had good acting, but it was stupid. Naruto conceded that to that point. Kurotsuchi took notes of the sun positions. It was few hours away from hitting the horizon, but she was still stricken with a good idea. Wait, before we go home, I have to show you something cool. Kurotsuchi did an immediate 180 and headed in the direction of the mountains that bordered the village to the east with Naruto in tow. They walked towards the ranges, descending into a comfortable silence due to the fact that Kurotsuchi was too busy navigating to be of much use conversationally. When they reached the base of the mountain, Naruto noticed a long and narrow staircase that went directly up the range. Kurotsuchi made for the staircase, and Naruto also almost questioned why they weren't wall walking up it, but came to correct conclusion that Kurotsuchi must still be too drained of chakra to do in that regard. The stair went a really long way up, like almost way up the mountain. Then there was an uneven path that went even up higher. The uneven path eventually made it towards an outcropping of grey stone that just jutted out suddenly from the mountainside. The stone was artificially smoothed over on the top floor. He assumed a better place to sit on. He knelt down to feel the strange grey stone that was out of place on the brown mountain and came to the conclusion that it was actually cement. Kurotsuchi sat down at the edge of the outcropping of stone and slowly undid the bandages that hid her hair from view. Naruto sat down next to her and asked, "Why are you taking off them?" They're really uncomfortable and nobody really here right now. Naruto nodded. So how was this all made? Oh, I never really told what quick climb is, did I? Naruto shook his head. Well, it's got to be the coolest Kekigenkai in existence. Naruto looked doubtful at the claim but allowed her to continue. Quicklime is corrosive powder that when mixed with water turns into instant cement. What makes it really cool is that it can be used as an attack, supplementary and defensive technique. It also can't be affected by lightning jutsu because it's a mixture of earth chakra, fire chakra and water chakra. Naruto didn't know that lightning had adverse effect on earth-based ninjutsu, so he filled that certain tidbit of information away. So because I got lava release, I can make outer croppings like this anywhere I go, she said with a smug look on her face. Naruto sweat drops. Can't you do that with a regular earth release? Earth release isn't this comfy. It also crumbles away eventually when the chakra supporting it goes away. But since quicklime and water is a chemical reaction instead of a chakra reaction, it stays for days. The sun was getting lower and lower on the horizon as they spoke. The sky quickly turned into a patchwork of different colors, intermingling, changing and interacting with the clouds in the sky. They both turned to look at the beautiful sunset. The vantage point also gave them the perfect view of the village below them as the residential area turned different shades of pink, orange along with sunset. It was the sight that rendered Naruto speechless. Listen, Naruto, Kurotsuchi started out. He turned to look at her, but she wasn't able to make eye contact. She seemed to be having internal conflict, deliberations about what she was about to say. Suddenly, bringing her head up to meet his gaze, she all about shot out, "I like you." Naruto blinked in surprise. "You like me?" She suddenly turned a healthy shade of red and quickly broke the eye contact. You piss me off a lot. You know that? You said things that get me embarrassed. You dyed my hair pink. And you crawled into the bed with me without my consent." She paused but looked like she was going to say more. Naruto didn't interrupt her. "But you're the only person that I can prank, that I can call shithead, that I can talk to or go see a movie with. You're the only person who understands me." She re-engaged eye contact. "And you're the only person that I like." Naruto didn't know how any sort of relationship like theirs was going to succeed. He didn't even know if it was a good idea to get along with it. He didn't know if she was right for him. He didn't know one thing. He did only know one thing. "I like it too." At this point, they both had bright, vermilion blushes. Naruto brought a hand to the back of his head as a sigh of nervousness. "So what now?" he asked. "Well, She leaned closer to him with her lips slightly parted. Understanding the situation, Naruto leaned in as well until their lips met. It was a chest kiss at first, and after a few seconds they pulled away from each other to look into each other's eyes. They leaned in forward and another kiss, then another, then another. Truthfully, Kurotsuchi hadn't planned on confessing to him at that particular point, and her only objective was to show Naruto the sunset, but the situation was perfect enough that her body began to speak before her mind could catch up. But that didn't matter right now, because he liked her back. Her lips felt soft against his, and his lips felt soft against hers. The only thing that they could find anything to care about at that point was the person that they were kissing. All other things took a back burner moment. Right now, Orochimaru didn't matter, Sasuke didn't matter, the whole Akatsuki didn't matter. Even the whole world didn't matter to them. The only thing that mattered to them was them. They remained locked in that embrace. They remained locked in the embrace until, well, after the sun had finally set. As this is where I'm going to leave this part off, guys. Sorry about the stutter. I guess the heat is finally getting to me down here. It's quite humid, actually. Anyways, if you like the content, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And please do comment below about what I have told you about, like the series of What If Naruto had the Godzilla bloodline, or any other one shot series. Not a long series, but a one shot. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is Apollo Chi and I'm signing out. Peace.